Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. This is Daybreak, and in studio this morning is the former Kacheliba member of National Assembly and Senator West Pokot County, Samuel Pogesha on my far right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely having you here on the broadcast.
Thank you very much.
And he formerly served as the majority leader at the Senate before the elections in 2022. Ahmed Haji is governance and political commentator. Good morning, Ahmed.
Good morning, Ayub. Today, my seniors are here with me, and I'm just privileged to be here with them. And of course, they're sitting in the right place, on the right of our politics and on the left of our politics. So I'm going to be in the middle and see how it goes. Asante sana.
Dr. Mukhisa Kitui served in Parliament from 1992 to 2012. A former cabinet minister, served at the United Nations and joins us this morning. Good morning, Dr.
Asante, Karim.
Lovely having you here on the board.
Asante sana.
Well, a lot has happened this week, gentlemen, and let's begin with the parliamentary group meeting at State House and the President's submission that the Houses of Parliament have turned into extortion centers and money minting committees that are meant to oversight the public. First, beginning with you, Dr. Mukhisa, and good morning to you again. Is this the end of what's been, in the eyes of many Kenyans, an unholy alliance between the executive and Parliament?
No. Parliamentarians have been shocked at the mendacity of a president who has been very dependent on their support and who has been using them as a vessel for his purchase of voters through the empowerment program, the so-called empowerment program, and who has been the source of monies to lobby other parliamentarians on what State House wants. So their surprise is that the sponsor of the largesse is turning against his own. But having said that, most of those parliamentarians may express some outrage right now, but they're so beholden to State House that those noises will be followed by a signification of solidarity and normal service. But I think the main thing that stands out for me is Ruto has gained such a sense of arrogance over institutions and persons that he thinks he can say whatever he wants to, what comes to his head, he can say without considering the consequences. In a more civilized way, a person so dependent on the goodwill of Parliament will call parliamentary leaders and say, there's this phenomenon that is growing. Let us stem it. Let us at least diminish it and not so blatantly show that votes for sale is coming out of Parliament. But, you know, he doesn't give a damn about institutions and about persons. I think that's the principal message that he's bringing out. But at another level, who is he to cast the first stone? The source of the money that is bribing people comes from Ruto. The principal collector of stolen money in Kenya is Ruto. So he starts lecturing those. They can start exposing some of the things that have been conduits in what he does.
Ahmed, are the chickens coming home to roost for parliamentarians?
I think that patriotism is the last refuge of a scoundrel. And I think that the scoundrelism that we saw at that PG meeting is a signal that the UDA and the ODM are one and the same thing. And it is now very clear to me, Ayub, that the government has not only lost its moral platform. One of the most important things about a government is not its political, economic, and social power. It is its moral uprightness. And when that collapses, it is the beginning of the end of that government. And I think yesterday will be the day that will mark as the day that the government fell in the eyes of Kenyans, because the two leaders showed how deep the cynicism is in the political class. The Parliament of Kenya is going to be washed away by the people of this country. And I think that realization has come to the table of the two leaders. And therefore, they've made a very strategic move to throw them out now as a cost to the electorate, as a way of trying to make amends with the electorate over the last 3 years of mismanagement of the state in this country. And what is going to happen is that the National Assembly is not going to do anything.
Okay.
They are not going to react in any way because the two leaders are the ones who gave them their tickets. They're the ones who went and campaigned for them to win. These are not popular people on the ground. They are not people who are elected because the electorate wanted them. These are people who are forced because of the ethnic battles at the very top. So each ethnic leader wants to get his soldiers in line before the elections. But now we're at a watershed event in this country. The Gen Zs have shown that the politics of the last 50 years is over.
Okay.
The game of tribal politics is over. It is up to the opposition now to understand what exactly the people of this country want and present a leader who can throw these people into the dustbin of history.
Yeah, and Senator Fogigio, having served at both houses of parliament, for the president, there has been a growing utter contempt for the House, including warning MPs to if they fail to vote for the finance bill in 2023, now an act where he warned them from Narok County. But ideally, do parliamentarians understand the powers vested in them by the Constitution?
Well, you're asking a very difficult question. Do they understand? And we leave that at that. One of the things that brings embarrassment to the country, and I think this is for all to know, that anything you say in any corner of the world today, in the glare of the media, and it's reported, becomes international news. It's no longer just a local, it's not local news. And so when the president spoke the way he did, the whole world now knows what kind of parliament we have, what kind of leadership we have in this country. And I was beginning to think, was it a strategy that the president had? There are two reasons for me to think that way. One, he's on his way to Japan for the TICAD, and later he'll be going to the Americas or the USA for some meetings and so on. So maybe it was a strategy that he had so that he sounds like this guy is really fighting corruption in his country. Mm-hmm. Now, how he does it, and it's again now is fighting against him. It's kicking back because when you mention houses of parliament, and of course I know I have said this that this parliament has been captured anyway, and so what you do, and this is a new lesson for parliamentarians, if you allow yourselves to reach a point where you are captured, then you can be used and abused and insulted the way anyway. And so it brings the question that where is the leadership of this parliament? The speakers of parliament have already been included in this thing to say the whole house is therefore rotten. So who is leading these two houses becomes the question. And of course there are very many basic questions which have been asked of the president. The president says he is a consumer of raw intelligence.
Yeah.
The question is it just started yesterday? I mean, the raw intelligence has been there since when? Since he was deputy president. And so it's not true that information coming now is causing him to say those things. And so I'm wondering what has inspired the president suddenly to be holier than thou in this situation. And I don't know whether the coming of the former prime minister into this thing has emboldened the president. Is it that he feels like he has a guarantee now in control of what we would call in parliament the tyranny of numbers?
Yeah.
Maybe that now excites him. But you see now when you hit that same tyranny of numbers, that same group of numbers, they retreat and now hitting back. The thing about it is that it was so embarrassing that even members of parliament begin now to come out. And very soon we'll start knowing.
Okay.
But there is a sense, Ayub, in which what the president said has some truth, okay? He said it. It's just the way he said it and where he said it that was not very encouraging.
Yeah. And Dr. Kitui, explain for our viewers how the long list of parliamentarians, including you, Gitobo Imanyara, Senior Counsel James Orengo, Kabando Wakabando, had survived a rather suppressive environment in standing up to President Moi's dictatorship after the elections. And why in today's context then, it appears the current parliament is unable to perform at the best level required as the constitution anticipates?
I think there are 2-3 different streams that are fed into the monster we have today. And I like very much what my colleague and friend Pogisha just said, that you see, we are outraged by the messenger. Ruto should be the last person to talk about the problem of corruption because he's extremely corrupt. But not having said that, the target of his air is actually also real. The performance of parliament is outrageous. Now, historically, when I went to parliament, we were earning 19,000 shillings per month.
That is 1992.
1992, 19,000 Kenya shillings.
Wow.
And what Moi did was to give loyal troops from Kanu weekend money to go and do harambe at home. So starve the opposition to irrelevance. Now, this was the origin of efforts to disentangle parliamentary benefits from the whims of the executive. Allow parliamentarians to have fair incomes so that they carry out their work instead of being subject to political starvation. Now, we created a monster. By increasing the power of parliament to allocate resources to itself, we opened up doors of abuse. And even from the last period when I was in parliament, we were seeing lobbies within the parliament going around intimidating people, don't oppose this, when a committee is recommending to add peck after peck after peck. Now, that was the start of the monster. The next phase was a new constitutional order which transferred the business of allocating resources in the budget to a parliamentary committee. Now, the origin of this was the very arbitrary way government, the executive, abused treasury, organizing budget and allocating resources. So Kenyans assumed that a parliament behaving like Congress would now look for fairness in the allocation of these resources. What did they do? Massive expansion of resources availed to parliament. Can you explain how every weekend the speaker is flying around the country with a helicopter going to funerals everywhere?
Yeah.
Is that part of the responsibility of a speaker?
No.
Can you explain why? I have served at the highest level internationally in Geneva for 8 years. And what did we see those 8 years? A speaker comes with a delegation of MPs to Geneva. Each MP is given $1,000 per day as per diem. The senior-most position in the UN, which I held, were having $350 as per diem per day. Kenyan parliamentarians getting 1,000. And what do? A meeting where a country is allowed principal plus 2, which is usually a minister, the local ambassador, and a permanent secretary. You have 12 Kenyan MPs who scramble and sit on the chairs of other delegations. And orderlies have to come and get them out. Others are going to brothels on Kenyan taxpayers' money. This has just ballooned because of privilege without responsibility. Now you come back on the home front. What happens is a continuation of what started not actually under Ruto. It was already on and growing under Uhuru. But it has just come to a head now under Ruto that parliamentary business is a bargain. We do this, you'll do it for us. One of the reasons why MPs are daring Ruto to name those who have been bribing is that if they are named, they will say, you are the one who sent us with your money. If he was a serious person, when he said we'll beat them in jail, would have been waiting, let us see who is bring to jail. But of course, when Ruto says this thing is lying, he doesn't mean to send anybody to jail. But fundamentally, as my colleagues have mentioned, we are in a moment where turbulence in the legislature, coming at the same time with the declining popularity and relevance of the executive, running towards a very polarizing, potentially polarizing election, are very, very severe clouds of turbulence in the national politics.
Okay. Ahmed, looking at the stint of Kenneth Marende, who helped in the eyes of many Kenyans give Parliament institutional integrity, how do you describe today's speakers, both at the Senate and at the National Assembly? 1, 2, are you appalled, as Kenyans are, by statements including one that was made by Junet Mohammed at the height of the plucking of Ruto loyalists in 2020 from plum parliamentary positions that look, you guys, had you been cows like us, then you wouldn't face these consequences. Is that description a befitting one for a member of parliament?
I think Mr. Junet Mohammed, who's a gunslinger for Mr. Odinga, and Mr. Duale, who is the gunslinger for Mr. Ruto. Over the weekend, you could see Mr. Duale's preposterous statements about a looming civil war in this country. He was speaking in the native tongue, in which, of course, I understand and you understand. And I think that I remember 2007, just before we went into 2008, the same kind of discourse was in the air. And this kind of language is produced to make the citizenry cow under the umbrella of intimidation. And I'm really appalled that the institutions that we created in the constitutions, like the commissions that are supposed to deal with issues of hate speech and ethnic slandering, it's just dead. You know why they're dead? Because the president has captured every institution we have in this country. And what is left now is the popular media, the gazettes, the newspapers, the radio, the public intellectuals like the ones who are sitting here today, politicians who are in the opposition. It smacks of the clock being turned back about 20 years. You know, President Ruto is a child of KANU. KANU had a left wing, it had a central, it had a center, and it had a right wing. Because it was the first political party in this country and everybody had to be in it, most of our politicians. Even when I was a kid, I voted KANU when I turned 18 because my mom said, go and vote for KANU. This is the party of the country. I was not really conscious at that level yet. I was still young. But the problem is that I don't think that we are in the business as usual cycle, Ayub. I think what is happening in this country is a transformation that is really led by the overwhelming majority of the people of this country who are under 25. And what they want is a working nation. And I mean that literally. They want a working lives, they want jobs for them, for these young people, and a nation that actually helps them do that. And I believe firmly that in 2027, there is going to be not an earthquake, but a shattering of events. Because the vote, I'm surprised these kids have waited for the vote. I thought that there's going to be much more trouble before we get to 2027. But the way Mr. Duale is speaking and Mr. Junet is speaking in this country is a signature of the rot that is deeply festered in the consciousness of our political class. Mm-hmm. And unless we stand up to it, really stand up to this. Yeah. I think that Mr. Ruto is going to turn the clock back to an autocracy in this country, and he might even overthrow the constitution. He's already shredding it. And if we don't stand up now, we will return to the past, and that will be a disaster for this country.
And Senator Pugegio, from an experience perspective, when you served as the leader of the majority, you being a beneficiary of that clampdown on the loyalists of then Deputy President. Ideally, are some of these expressions about really manifesting at the floor of the Senate?
Well, it's a time of reckoning for us in this country. It's actually a time of introspection.
Yeah.
Because what the President has said has brought to the fore this debate that we're talking about. And I don't even have to answer you because members of parliament themselves, senators themselves have stated that there's a ring, there is money moving around during certain votes. Members of the National Assembly have, for example, cited, you know, the finance bill, during finance bill, or during any of the bills that come from State House, that money is there. But, you know, the president also indicated that he knows when the money comes there. And he asked whether the money actually got to you guys, you know. When he asked that question, you wonder whether he meant, I gave money, and where did it go? And at the risk of saying that the president has opened our eyes, and I can say that now, to something that we always knew, but it was a hush.
It was hush, yes.
And he now mentions exactly, look at what he says. He talked about Sokohuru.
Chairman of welfare.
Chairman of welfare. and that means he is, they're probably going to him and say Sokohuru, or, the welfare chairman. This when Dr. Kitui and I were in Parliament before the 2010 Constitution, there was no way a chairman of a committee could benefit from anything in the government.
At your expense?
They will never get, why would you get the money? You are actually serving the country. And by the way, this thing called patriotism must come from inside somewhere. We took in, when Dr. Kitui came in 92, the salary was 19,000, as he says. But I came in 1988.
1988?
And we were earning 10,000. That was 10,000. We didn't have a car loan. I mean, we had a car loan, but we went to the bank straight away. And the only thing that the government did was guarantee that loan. So it was not like, I can tell you this, when we were in Parliament in 1988, and like he says, if you did not follow the president that time around, you could not survive.
You cannot survive, yeah.
You could survive. And nobody in Parliament could afford to live in the hotels in Nairobi. No.
Wow.
So let's say we then 2010 Constitution comes, or subsequently the members of Parliament got bolder and added their own salaries, and now until now they control everything. When we made it possible that we can say to the minister, we are not passing this unless you do this. You dare the minister, because you control the budget. You control appropriation. And then you control CDF. I mean, you're allocating yourself more salaries, more what you call per diem, and then you follow that again with development, and that is what you control. And so who are you accounting to? Who is going to be the one holding everybody else to account? So imagine the members of Parliament now have to be audited on CDF.
Yeah.
Audited, followed by auditors everywhere. So I do want to suggest that let the president come out. Let's see some positive aspect of that. Find it somewhere that he has given us an opportunity to actually debate this issue freely. And now we know. My question is, how does a chairman of a committee, on the basis of that position, become so wealthy that members of Parliament are buying choppers, they're buying, they're building marvelous places within a short time. Yeah. But what's happening to this country? What are we saying to people?
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Kitui Ahmed and Senator Pogisho, when we come back, we further this the next 1 hour on the institutional integrity of the House, the incapacity question. Yesterday, the president also formed an 11-member multi-agency team to coordinate the war against corruption, but to what effect? We'll be talking about that also in the context of the powers that the Constitution invests in Parliament, but the question of the incapacity, of the existing capacity by the very same lawmakers across the bicameral Parliament. After the break here on the broadcast, stay tuned.